some people on the inside, so to speak, or even up at the elite tops are aware of and are working towards that idea. That I think they're also trying to, at the same time, of course, kind of co-opt the New Age, meaning that they will want to see themselves at the same position as they've been during this past age, so to speak, at the top levels. So they're trying to co-opt it, but at the same time, all this stuff with the apocalyptic scenario, I think it's kind of reflective of the mentality of an old age kind of ending. It needs to go up in with explosions and fireworks or something.
Oh, precisely. And I think one of my favorite movies, K-Pax, there's a quote from Kevin Spacey at the end of the film that basically says that his race has been around long enough to know that the universe will basically expand and retract into a cosmic crunch and then expand again forever in an oscillating heartbeat-like cycle. So whatever you do this time around, do it right, because you're going to be re-experiencing it over and over again, your decisions that you're going to make, because the universe basically oscillates at a sacred geometrical frequency that's just never ending. It's an infinite loop. So yes. I think that some of these people up there don't want to relive this sort of tragic event in history, or perceived event in history. And there's another film which recently came out that absolutely screams Illuminati schemes. And I mentioned it briefly to you. It's called Babylon A.D.
Yeah, sure.
Babylon, of course, is the city of ancient Mesopotamia, the later name given to Babel. And the city was located along the Euphrates River on the plains of the Shinar, east of Jerusalem, and I think about 50 miles from Baghdad. And the ruins of Babylon extend over a vast area in the form of a triangle. So you have that sort of trilateral symbolism there. And in the film, Vin Diesel has to transport a young woman named Aurora, who has been genetically altered to be super intelligent and give a virgin birth to twins in order to vindicate a Luciferian religion. But they're obviously masquerading as righteous and God-fearing and, similar to the Christian religion. And he, of course, has to take her to none other than New York City, where she is to be publicly martyred so the twins could be the spokespeople of the new false religion. Their headquarters is one of the buildings, basically the very building that the Council of 13, which the false religion calls themselves. They're trying to start their new religion out of is Ground Zero. I mean, it is the building that they're operating out of is Ground Zero. Do you believe that?
Right.
The headquarters is one of the buildings that's planned to be built. It has a pyramid-like shape at the top. That little tidbit was courtesy of YouTuber Iconoclast333. But it's truly unbelievable, Heinrich, that they're having that sort of virginal birth, twin symbolism in New York City, in a building that's yet to be built at the 9/11 ritual site, with a pyramid at the top, calling themselves the Council of 13. And if that doesn't scream Illuminati to people, I don't know what does.
It's a memory of Romulus and Remus as well, when they built the Roman Empire, basically.
Sure. And another tidbit about that film is that Vin Diesel has a tattoo of the Necronomicon on his neck.
Really?
Like a gigantic symbol of the Necronomicon on his neck, and he has an Egyptian scarab on his back, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And he was in the film Pitch Black, which is an obvious homage to the Black Sun. And in the second installment, he fights a race of ETs known as the Necromongers, who are trying to get to an area of space known as the Underverse, basically where they can become immortal. In the meantime, however, they go planet to planet, Galactus style, destroying and converting like every world they come across. And their coming is prophesized in conjunction with the passing of a comet. So, I mean, that's again like a reoccurring theme here. The passing of a comet, the doomsday scenario. There's even a video game coming out called Diablo 3, where the coming of Lucifer, or the return of Lucifer, is in conjunction with the passing of a comet that slams into Earth. So there's something about that as well. There's something about the symbolism of the passing of a large body, be it Nibiru or a large comet, and these sort of Luciferian cults as well. And it's saturated in video games, not just movies, not just the ordinary media that you're used to. It's absolutely everywhere, which it definitely calls to question why it's there, why it permeates throughout the social consciousness, why it even exists in that manner.
Indeed. Hey, let's return a little bit to your list here. Let's see here. We've gone through a few ones. We have, I think, up to 5, let's say, Rendezvous with Rama. Is that coming out 2009? Is that on your list?
Yeah, I think I talked about that already. And
yes.
Let's see, there's some more here. Planet 51. It's an animated film revolving around the Roswell incident, featuring the voice of The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in Southland Tales, which I think we briefly talked about the last time I was on.
Yes.
Basically, I mean, his name in the one of his monikers in the film was Jericho. Jericho Kane, I believe it is.
Yes.
Spelled with a C, and then he has a tattoo of Jesus Christ on his back, which eventually bleeds through his shirt in conjunction with the end of the world and like this sort of the entrance into a new dimensional realm. And he was also in the film Doom, which they use this device called the Ark to basically jump gate from the Earth to the Mars. And it's this machine that's sitting on a pentagramic base that mimics some of the geometries of the Cydonia region in Mars. Right. And it basically liquefies your matter. So you have the Ark resonating with the Aquarius water, and then you have the Mars symbolism as well. And yes. Jericho Kane is also a character named that Arnold Schwarzenegger goes by in The End of Days. Are you familiar with that film?
Oh yeah, I thought it was very interesting. Obviously, again, it's a whole it's a Christian theme, the Christian backdrop to it, but yet there was a few elements to it that I really enjoyed actually when watching the film. It was really great.
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to say a little bit more about the Jericho phenomenon. Actually, the new Iron Man film that came out, Tony Stark makes this bomb called the Jericho bomb, or the Jericho device. And that is basically used against him by the terrorists in the Iraqi region, and they're basically taking his technology and using it to attack Americans with, and he names that the Jericho bomb. So you have Jericho Kane as being the End of Days type figure played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. You have Jericho Kane as the Rock, who is the messianic resonator in Southland Tales. So you have like this reoccurring theme of Jericho, and the actual TV show Jericho, which is basically they have after the nuclear fallout in that TV series, there's a separation between the East and the West, and they reestablish a government in the West in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And they send in these mercenaries that are very much like the Blackwater mercenaries, except they call them the Raven Hood or the Raven Hawk mercenaries, or Raven Black, I'm sorry. And so you have the parallel between sort of George Bush Sr.'s SS unit and that, and they alter the United States flag so it has an octagon full of stars instead of where the normal stars and stripes are. They had the symbol of the octagon on the flag itself, which is very bizarre. And going back to the idea of the octagon and the symbolics behind 8, going back to the Olympics and the 888 date I spoke about in one of my videos, you have Michael Phelps, who is sort of the Aquarius resonating god of swimming, winning 8 medals or that or abouts on August 8th, 2008. The same general moment an enormous figure 8 crop circles discovered in the fields of Wiltshire. And there's so many powerful thought forms focused on an event like the Olympics. I wouldn't be surprised if a 666 foot tall golden winged reptilian decides to randomly manifest at the 2012 Olympics in London.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's also some point between the acrobatic display of a future Chinese moon landing and some insane undulating human calligraphy machine, a short camera pan to a very bored-looking Bush clone as well during the Olympics, the opening ceremonies anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that, and I think Kissinger were there, and even it was interesting because they filmed. I remember during the opening ceremony they filmed both Putin and George Bush, and then they threw in Kissinger in there, right? And at the same day we have the basically the Russian and Georgian conflict starting up as well, Well,
precisely, and a lot of people think that was a staged event to try to get at the Iranian nuclear bases and to actually, begin some kind of World War III scenario. And it also coincided with the Olympics, which was very bizarre. It was, those things are energy gathering events. Mm-hmm. That's when everybody's mind and will is bent and focused on one spot. And that's why you have like Masonic sports like baseball and football, and you have all this aggression sort of staring and, beaming all of your will and intent at one small spherical object in the middle of a gigantic stadium with like 60 or 70,000 people. Yeah. It's very common in ritual magic to have these sort of channeling events. And the Olympics, combined with the 2012 event in London, there's going to be so much energy surrounding that event that I'm so curious to see what's going to happen. It's going to be absolutely amazing, whatever takes place at that point. And I think there was also some kind of homage to or some kind of structure built to mimic the Tower of Babel at the Olympics. And we already talked about the Burj in Dubai being constructed. So I'm basically waiting to see if the gods come down and confuse our language or let us continue our experiments. I'm not sure. I hope that this time around we can get as far as we possibly can and hopefully become a part of this sort of galactic federation and explore the cosmos as far as we can.
Well, I guess we have to unite our language and make it into one before the gods can come down and shatter it, right?
Of course.
And in many cases we are maybe not in the works of creating one world language, but certainly in the regard of government and on the geopolitical arena, this is definitely something that is happening, And again, I think there is also kind of a very much a religious theme, behind that in a way, because again, the Christ and the Antichrist scenario, it feels like all of this is still within the realm of religious symbolism, if you will, and it feels like this idea that they are trying to recreate the scenario that was in the Bible once again on Earth is very much still within that same think, if you will. They're trying to bring everything together again now with this world government, a huge, conspiracy, if you will, to get this together and just to, I don't know, maybe just shatter it again, to have this, we'll see what happens, but it feels very much like this cycle is repeating again, over and over and over.
Sure, we talked about that in my time loop scenario, and it's like there seems to be a will or desire at the higher levels to control this movement and to utilize people's brainwashed religious beliefs against them. And I don't know, it's even in video games as well. It's saturated. There's a game called BioShock where you're basically in this underwater city known as Rapture. It's created by Andrew Ryan, or A. Ryan, so basically the Aryan race. And they construct a city which is completely independent of all world governments, and it focuses its culture on these genetic upgrades known as plasmids. It basically allows your character and other people in the city to conduct things like telekinesis, or control fire and ice, or some kind of X-Men mutant quality, or other, Ubermensch-like abilities. And it reminds me very much of Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged. And her name is another anagram for Aryan. So, these people definitely believe in some kind of genetic superiority, and they're I don't know if the creators of these games and movies are basically inspired by that or are corrupted by that faction, but it seems to be more and more coming through in the mass in the mass entertainment field. And then you have, overlapping themes of Atlantean islands coupled with bioengineering or tampering with our DNA in films like The Island, starring Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
And he's going to be in I, Lucifer next to, James Bond or 007 Daniel Craig.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. I remember that film. Have you read more about it? What it's going to be about?
I don't think they've really unleashed too much more information about it. I know it's coming out in either 2009 or 2010, but I think it's 2010 actually. But there's things like the comparison to or the roles in which these actors pick. I don't know if they're completely aware of the connotations in which their actions bring to the silver screen. Ewan McGregor's also in this film called Stay, in which Ryan Gosling is basically having a near-death experience. He just got into a horrific car crash, and he's slowly dying. And as he's dying, I guess DMT floods his entire brain, and he starts having a hallucination of an entire world. So he creates a world within a world, like a microcosm, just like we were speaking about in the Nines. And at the end, when he's sort of coming to, or he decides that he just wants to die, he wants to move on to the afterlife, he can't take it anymore,